Hi, everybody. This is Joshua and Phoebe.
Hi.
And we don't normally do this, but we had some technical problems with our first episode recording with Johnny Dowd, the man, the living legend, and we just wanted to fill in the gaps a little bit about this living legend, this mystery, and tell you why I spent so much time. I wanted to re-edit this episode and put it out the right way. Phoebe, what do you think about Johnny Dowd?
I think that maybe most of the people listening today will not know who Johnny Dowd is.
Sure.
The man, the myth, and the legends. But the fact of the matter is that Johnny Dowd was heralded in Rolling Stone, has an underground following throughout the United States and possibly the world, I believe. And the world. And he is still creating massively unique art that we think is important for the rest of the world to know.
Yeah. So I first heard of him with his very first album at age 50, 1998, The Wrong Side of Memphis, Pictures from Life's Other Side. He tells beautiful, twisted stories about sadness and unhappiness, and instead of letting it take his life completely down to the toilet, he makes beautiful music out of it and takes it all over the world. People everywhere have heard of him. He's kind of rockabilly, kind of folk, kind of country. He is hard to quantify, and he likes it that way. We went to see him recently in Ithaca, New York, and the very next day, he wrote the funniest joke I'd ever seen on Facebook. He said, "I thought being a rock star would pay more." We are so excited to introduce to you Johnny Dowd because we think you love him too, and we hope you go to johnnydowd.com and pick up his new album, Homemade Pie. And on this episode, he plays one of his new tracks, Rose.
So good.
So
don't miss it, guys.
So stinking good.
This is so good.
Yeah.
If you wanted to know a real rock and roll cowboy, listen to some Johnny Dowd.
If you want to meet a real artist, you'd drive 4 hours to meet him like we did. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys, and enjoy Johnny Dowd with me and Phoebe talking about the power of the dog.
Woof, woof.
And now, let's go back to our original episode, already in progress. Phoebe, we just finished watching The Power of the Dog, and I'm embarrassed. I didn't know that was a Bible verse. Did you know that was a Bible verse?
I didn't. I guess I didn't pay attention in church.
Wow. I went to Bible school in Rochester, New York, too, so this is bad. It's in Psalms, I think. Deliver us from the sword and the power of the dog. So, wow. Super scary movie. The Lord did not deliver them, but maybe he delivered Rose from Phil, who was super scary. Anyway, incredible movie.
Beautiful.
And we have a wonderful, wonderful guest today, Johnny Dowd. We're going to introduce him in just a second. And any thoughts before our theme song rolls?
I mean, honestly, I'm just so excited to talk to Johnny Dowd about this song and to hear his song, Rose. That's all I'm excited about.
Okay. I think everyone will be excited about that. It's an amazing song. We got to hear Johnny a few weeks ago play in Ithaca on the last stop of his tour in the Brookton Market. Well, it wasn't amazing. Ithaca. It was next door to Ithaca.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was. Thanks so much, everybody. And here's our theme song.
They yell about directors, yell about the plot, yell about the acting, but they also talk a lot. But mostly Joshua and Phoebe yell about the movies.
Welcome back to Joshua and Phoebe Yell About Movies. Phoebe.
Joshua.
Yes, we're back. We have an incredible guest today. Phoebe, would you like to do the honors of introducing our guest?
This is Johnny Dowd, the one and only.
Yes, live from Ithaca, New York. The man, the legend himself.
And he's got some new music.
He does have some new music.
Is the world ready, is the question.
They should be. I mean, it's incredible. We were blown away a few weeks ago, weren't we?
It just gets better and better. It just gets better and better.
Yep. I've been telling her about you, about how you've been playing music for years, but you didn't record your first album until the age of 50, and you run a moving company. And we just think your story is so great. Anyway, Johnny.
Is that true, Johnny?
Is that true? Is that true, Johnny?
Not really, no. But
what's true?
What is the truth?
What is the truth?
I manage a small local bank. Saving. I'm in real estate, basically. Import, export.
Wow, those are 3 different careers in one. What an interesting bank it must be.
No, your story is right. You're accurate.
Yeah, well, I feel like after seeing you in person, you have a little bit of Will Rogers in you. These tall tales that sort of make up your stories, and then that's a lot of sorrow in your songs for one person. So I feel like
even Conway Twitty makes an appearance.
Yeah, he did. You want to be a rock star like Conway Twitty. So anyway, that's why we thought of you for this deep, scary movie, Power of the Dog. It's deep, it's scary, there's a big story there.
Yeah, I really liked it. The script was great. Cinematography was great. Directing was great. The acting was great, except they didn't really sound like people from that era to me, which kind of they're great actors and they acted great, but like if you see a movie like Robin Hood, when Kevin Costner was Robin Hood, and he's saying like, "Well, go forth," it's just like then everybody else in the cast is British, so they're saying "come forth,"
Yes, the accents were off. Although I was listening to Benedict Cumberbatch very closely to see if he slipped back into his English accent once, which he didn't. I don't know. Did you catch him?
Oh no, which one is he? Is he the
He's Phil, the guy that?
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. I didn't even know that, but he doesn't sound like an American. He sounds like somebody who sounds like an American.
Oh, well, you're picking up on it because he's an Englishman.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Well, was it everybody in the cast that you thought sounded a little off for the time period, or
everybody but the young kid? Mm-hmm. The son. I thought he was just totally strong, but I really liked the movie. Yeah.
What in particular did you like about it? What spoke to you the most?
I think just it was a love story. It was just a beautiful love story of unrequited love, cast in 2 guys, But
yeah.
What difference does it make, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. George and Phil, it seemed like they were at each other's throats the whole time. Why did you think that was?
Well, I think they really loved each other, but Phil, with his what's going on in his head, and his brother just being a really straight, absolutely straight. You couldn't be any more man with a capital M. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say anything. He reluctantly gives up an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even killed. And his brother Phil was more like playing a stereotypical version of a woman from the 50s, sort of semi-hysterical and just like, you don't know what the fuck they're going to do.
It was pretty scary. Last hour, we kept thinking he was going to hang someone like Peter, kill Rose. We didn't know in the music. Did the tension grab you at all, like with the music?
Yeah. I thought it was going to go that way. And that's what makes her such a great director. She took it in a totally different way. Because, you would think if it was a Quentin Tarantino movie, he'd have killed every one of those motherfuckers.
Right.
It had been a bloodbath at the end of that thing.
We kept saying to ourselves, somebody's going to die. And then we kept coming up with different scenarios on who and how they were going to die. I thought there was another hanging coming for sure.
Yeah, because he was building that rope for him. He kept saying, I'm making that rope.
Mm-hmm.
I think that rope was a symbol.
Yeah.
I began to think of his penis.
Honestly, I'm open to any version of interpretation because I feel like the entire movie was symbolism. You had let's take Power of the Dog.
What was the dog? What was that thing?
Well, they looked out on the mountain, for one, and only Bronco Henry, who I think was like the homoerotic father, best friend, lover thing of Phil.
Yeah.
And the only other person that saw the dog in the mountain was the kid.
Right.
So...
And he was like, how did you see it? You saw it right away? That dog in the picture in the canyon.
And then the Bible, that you'll be delivered from the power of the dog. I haven't read any other reviews, and I really haven't figured out this symbol, but I think the symbol's really clear. And the rope, back to what you're saying, Johnny, is another one, and it can go so many different directions. And you think it's a symbol of his penis.
Well, just in the sense of it, a connecting thing between him and the kid. It's like a rope or a cable or a penis,
Like that's binding them or killing them?
Binding them. And he wants to bind them.
Yeah.
So I was shocked when the kid mentioned very casually that his father, an alcoholic, hung himself.
Yeah.
He found him, and he cut him down from that rope.
Right.
Next to that, you've got...
more ropes.
And then you've got Phil braiding a rope, creating a rope, and it's the kid that brings the hide to complete that rope that is apparently, spoiler alert, bathed in anthrax.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, when it came choice between carnal love and love of his mother, he chose his mother, as any good boy should do.
Oh.
Yeah.
So why do you think he killed Phil?
Well, because he was fucking with his mother.
Yeah, she was terrified of him. Yeah. Well, what do you think changed between Phil and Peter? Like, the first half of the movie, him and everybody's making fun of him, and then he terrorizes Rose for the first half of the film, and then his brother George leaves, and then he becomes friendly with him for a bit. What do you think changed there?
Well, I think they were starting to fall in love. He was starting to fall in love. Mm-hmm.
Well, do you think he saw something of him in himself? Like he said, like maybe that Bronco Henry showed him how to be tough and survive out there. He had this line when he was showing him the rope. He said, "Things get lonesome out here if you don't get into the swing of things." Another reference to a rope, a rope can swing.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Good catch.
Yeah.
And this too goes to the whole English question of an Englishman playing an American. But was the director or the scriptwriter trying to be ironic by naming this Carrie Bronco Billy? That's something out of a Western comic book or something.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, Bronco Billy just sounds completely made up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bronco Henry,
Yeah.
Bronco Henry, So was that her saying that I'm being ironic in this movie? That I'm not, I'm just making fun of Americans or something?
I mean, could be. I mean, it was a little bit, I like to use the phrase on the nose when something seems too obvious, when he pulls this cloth towel out of his crotch and he bathes in it and it has the initials BH on it. And he was carrying that thing right in his crotch region. And he was always dirty. And then he wouldn't show up to dinner because he didn't want his brother wanted him to look clean. He didn't. And then finally, about 3/4 of the way through the film, he finally takes a bath for the first time. He gets clean and takes that cloth out with BH on it. Bronco Henry.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What do you think? Did he feel that Bronco Henry made him clean and he was hiding his uncleanliness? I don't know. That's another idea. A lot of ways you can go with this.
Well, was there any proof that Bronco Henry was a real thing, except what was in Phil's mind? Did anybody else ever talk about Bronco Billy? Or he talked about it with his brother, I guess, did he?
I'm not sure if he did. They had that plaque on the wall.
No, I think he talked about it with his brother, But that whole story about the horse whispering thing,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He made the bet that that's, I mean, a story like that wouldn't be in a Western that you were trying to make historically correct. That's not the kind of thing that would happen. It would only happen in a movie.
Mm-hmm. Did you read a lot of those old Western stories like Louis L'Amour? Did you grow up with that kind of thing?
Zane Grey, read all the Zane Grey books.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
No, I read a ton of Westerns. I mean, when I was growing up, Westerns were all over the TV.
Yeah.
Gunsmoke, Paladin, Wanted Dead or Alive,
Yeah.
Bounty Hunter with Steve McQueen.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see that, man. That's like Steve McQueen. Just like you see what he was of all those guys. He was the biggest badass.
Seriously.
Oh, total man.
What a loss.
Total fucking man.
Your music kind of is a great example of Steve McQueen, actually. It's like fully part rock and roll, but fully part like Old West. Like I can hear a song, both being a rocker and on the back of a bucking bronco at the same time, telling high tales from the mountains that only your spirit animals know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff, like those, like Robert Service, or those poems that it's a whole story. Mm-hmm. Man went into the bar and like English folk poems. Or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Phoebe, is this a transition to asking Johnny if he'd favor us with a song?
Well, let's tell him what we got to hear. I feel very special that we have been able to hear your upcoming album before it was released.
Yep.
Johnny, you want to tell us a little bit about the new album?
Yeah. Made it during the pandemic, during the lockdown. It's pretty simple. I just wrote some songs, and Mike and I learned them. And then we recorded them. And then later we had a good friend of mine, Brian Wilson, drum on them. And
you had a lady sing on it too. I think that's one of.
Excuse me. And the Cam sang. So it was kind of the original Johnny Dowd band.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
That was just an accident, really, kind of. But it's a good album. It's
it's a very good album.
Very normal.
Very normal, you said.
Well, you're promoting it. The way you promote it too also makes me think like we're all a bunch of cowboys just sitting around a campfire at the end of a cattle herd. Well, I wrote them, and we learned them, and we sang them.
Yeah, that's it.
Are they about the pandemic, or are they just where did you draw from?
No, just what you said. I wanted to write a group of songs because I've never been the kind of player that if I went to a party and somebody said, "Hey, here's a guitar, sing us a song," I'd be like, "I don't know any songs. I don't have songs like that. There's no synthesizer. How am I going to do the song?" So these are just songs that you could play on acoustic guitar at a party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then we ended up electrifying them, but basically they're just folk tunes.
Well, we loved them.
We did.
And we were delighted when we heard this magical song. I mean, all of them are magical, really, but Rose. And I couldn't believe my ears because we were listening to it in preparation for this episode and The Power of the Dog. And I was like, oh, he wrote a song about Rose. This is perfect. So is there any way that Rose in this movie sort of reminds you of Rose in your song? Who is Rose in the song?
Who is Rose?
Rose. I'd have to check. Rose. Originally, the line was, I called her Rosie Pulaski. But then...
Detroit girl?
That seemed kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Now, Rose is just, you know, when a woman makes the choice and it's not you, and then you die and you wish that she would die with you. You love her and hate her in equal measures, you know. Mm-hmm. You want to be with her forever, but you hate her for choosing someone else.
Do you think that's how Phil felt in the movie?
A little bit, yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, he definitely had conflicts.
I mean, I guess
me, but maybe there was something there about feeling rejected as a man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that he wouldn't wash until he knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
So maybe he just felt dirty all the time. I don't know.
Well, I think the fact that he was actually British and he was having to pretend to be American, I think that was the central conflict. You got to see beyond the movie into the actual reality of what was happening.
Yes.
There. It's like Alex Baldwin and his fucking gun. You know?
Oh, I think this song, which I think is called Rose. If you remember it, let us know what it is. I think it's Rose.
Rosie.
I think that this is the missing song in the soundtrack for the movie. So with that, Johnny, will you give us a sneak peek on your new album, Through Rosie?
Yeah, I have to grab a guitar.
We'll just dance while we wait.
I'm back.
You know, when I get older, I would hope to have Johnny Dowd's shock of white hair. That's a crown of righteousness. That's what that is.
It's still hair. That's the main thing.
That is the... My father shaves his head with a razor. He's so bald. So he would say, here, here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my grandfather was bald. There's worse things.
Yeah, it reminds me of David Lynch's hair a little bit, Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah, David Lynch should call me.
I think so.
Agreed.
I think so.
You should be in his movie.
If I knew him, I'd call him for you.
All right. Many a ship I've sailed across the deep blue sea. Many a woman I've loved, but only one loved me. Her name was Rosie O'Grady, but I called her Rose. She kept me warm in the winter chill, when the cold wind blows. The night before I took sea to sail to parts unknown, Rose came by, said goodbye. I put a chill to my bones. Goodbye, I said, fare thee well. I said it with a grin. She looked at me with somber eyes. She said, I love your brother Jim. The sea was harsh, Captain cruel. All were lost at sea. My final thought as the ship went down, I wish Rose was here with me. I wish Rose was here with me. I wish Rose was here with me.
Woo!
Wow. I wish Rose was here with me. Well,
I love that song. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank
That
you.
sounded awesome.
Thanks, that was fun.
We were whisked away to that dog mountain.
yes. And then
Drinking hooch.
And then I was reminded of the immortal wisdom of Rose herself in the movie, who embraces her son after putting away the whiskey, and she looks at him and says, "Peter, we're not unreachable." That's what I was thinking of. That's one of the themes of the movie.
That was a great line. That was
Yeah.
so good. Such a good script.
So when does the rest of the world get to hear your new album? When is it releasing?
I think mid-January, I think.
Yeah.
May or January?
No, he said mid.
Mid-January, okay. We're also loving Johnny Dowd's Christmas album, and we bought a ton of them at your concert, and we're giving them away to all of our cool friends, because if you listen to Johnny Dowd, boys and girls, it's a very good indication that you are legitimately cool.
And each one of these covers is different. Who did these drawings?
I did the drawings, and my sister did the wood cut or linoleum cut around it. So the pictures, and then she stamps them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Now I don't want to give them away.
That's what I said. Each one's a collector's edition. Yeah, they're not the
We're
same.
gonna do a different edition each Christmas. It'll be the same record, but it'll have a different cover. So
It's amazing.
it's like baseball cards. People will trade them, sell them on eBay.
Yeah.
Full collection.
Yeah, and the three that we have are completely different. And unfortunately, I think the people that we are giving them to are going to be here, or maybe not. Maybe they won't. Maybe you won't be the one, but you are.
Yeah, and just like when Phil was telling Peter about how he had to take bets on how many boards they'd have to move before the rabbit made a run for it, I think people are going to have to make a run to buy your Xmas album.
Or they'll get their neck broke like the rabbit.
That's right.
That was an interesting thing. I mean, there was sort of a build-up to his sociopathy.
Yeah.
It started with...
Yeah.
Well, first we thought he was gentle because of the flowers, and then but then we saw him dissecting a rabbit.
Peter, the gay son, we saw him dissecting a rabbit and then his Rose says, I thought you liked rabbits.
Right, and then he did some dissection with the cow. I averted my eyes. I don't know what he did to the cow.
That's where he got the rawhide. Yeah.
Okay. There was that. And then I guess killing rabbit was also an indication.
Run the rabbit's neck, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that he said about his father that his father was always worried.
He was sort of a sociopath, but loved his mother.
He loved his mother, and his father, before he
Right,
died, was always concerned that he wasn't kind enough, which was interesting because later on, Phil says of him, "You're so kind." But actually, he wasn't kind at all. He murdered him.
Yeah.
So maybe his dad was right.
Well, hey, he murdered him because everybody made fun of him his whole life, I guess. That's another way to look at it.
Oh, and then there was the nudie magazines. He had both men and women in there.
I think so, yeah.
He did have both men and women. I don't know.
Was that authentic to the period also? Did they have cowboy porn back then?
Oh, I don't... Probably. I mean, porns.
I mean, you were there, Johnny. What was it like in 1858?
That's always been there, yeah.
No, the movie was set in the 20s.
Yeah.
Let me
yeah.
not.
1915, 1920, yeah.
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 Why do you think George left for so much of the second half of the movie? What do you think that was setting up? Do you think he had to leave Peter alone with Phil? I mean, plot-wise, do you think?
Yeah, partly. And that role was not much,
Yeah, but I think...
I mean, the guy did it well, but I mean, he could be absent and the movie would go right along. He didn't propel the action,
It doesn't say, but, since Phil had was so violent, I feel like his brother must have had something happen to him. Well, it kept him so restrained because, like, he didn't listen to people. He didn't listen to his brother. He didn't listen to his wife. She kept saying how bad she was at the piano, and then he asked her to play the piano anyway in front of all those relatives and company. And she was crying and shaking. She didn't want to play. She couldn't play. She said, "I can't play." She used to play in a little bar review or something, and then to play for high society, it just made her start drinking.
I mean, the meanest thing Phil did, I thought, was like she's down there trying to play the piano. He comes out with a fucking banjo and plays the whole thing like all up and down. Just like, for a musician, that would be pretty humiliating. You wouldn't like, oh, gee, I guess I'll do a gig in front of the governor tomorrow. You know, it doesn't build your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Phil came out like a badass, just playing that thing like he'd been doing it since he was born.
Right. Squelching her any confidence she was trying to do. She couldn't even practice because he was interrupting her with his, banjo skills.
Yeah, that was kind of a sort of thought that Robert Johnson, down to the crossroads, sell your soul to the devil, and then you can become you'd be a great guitar player. That whole legend. I sort of felt like he was like that because when you heard him playing in the beginning, it's like, yeah, this guy can't really play banjo. I mean, he's just picking on a few notes. And then all of a sudden he walks out of the bedroom. He sounds like fucking Earl Scruggs,
Right.
So, that's kind of demonic, You don't get that good without a lot of practice.
I was surprised he was that good. It sounded like he was tinkering on it before, and then he came out like
when
Jimmy Page of the West.
Yeah. And when did he have time to play the fiddle hanging out with all those cowboy friends he had anyway,
He's probably the kind of guy, like you go to a party and you're sitting around the campfire and this motherfucker's there playing the banjo all night and driving everybody out of their mind. That's why he didn't have any friends, It's just like, God, quit playing the banjo. It sounds horrible. That's the backstory, maybe.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
That was a big moment. That I didn't quite understand why he was trying to burn all those hides instead of selling them or giving them away. What did you think that was about?
I didn't get the whole hide thing exactly.
Yeah, she gave the hides away to the Indians, the Indian family, who gave her those nice cowhide gloves.
And he's like, I need these. He had it wasn't like it was important to him somehow. Maybe Bronco Billy was a hide guy or something. Some Bronco Billy connection.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he needed them because he wanted power over all of those hides. He had skinned himself to destroy them. But then...
Or was it...
The kid came through. Peter came through saying, don't worry, I have the hides for the rest of your rope.
Yeah.
So did he want to burn them or did he need them for the rope?
Or did he want to make rope?
I'm a little confused by that.
Yeah, I don't know that.
And what would be wrong with selling them? If they're a ranch, they got to make money somehow, presumably by selling hides, you think, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And why did he have to burn them? That I'm not really sure about. Again, there are so many metaphors over this, and I know that I'm missing at least 180,000 of them.
Yep. And then she held on to those cowhide gloves real tight after she passed out drunk, and George takes her up to bed. He tries to take the gloves off, and then she grabs them really tight, like she needs them.
So, do you think there's something to do with? Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of a theme here. He wouldn't wear gloves for a couple of reasons. One, when he was castrating, how many hundreds of cows did he castrate?
Close to 200, and his friends are like, "You need to wear gloves." He's like, "I don't need them."
So there's that. He also wasn't wearing the gloves when he was moving the logs out of the way, which is why he got that gash in his hand.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's why he died. Because he was touching with anthrax. I mean,
it could have been either.
He was wide open. He had a horrible infection. And I mean, maybe anthrax would have gone through even if he didn't have a wound there. Mm-hmm. And then she wouldn't take off her gloves.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a parallel there or what.
Yeah. Well, or maybe...
I think...
Go ahead, Johnny.
Anything you're not sure of, you could just blame on Bronco Henry.
Yeah.
That guy.
It's like, that's a Bronco Henry thing, with the hides. You don't need to understand it, It's like God.
I mean, this movie was really, there were a lot of homoerotic themes here.
A lot of the cowboys frequently had their shirts off.
How about the naked? How about fun splashy time? Naked splashy time in the pond. What? But however, I did not feel like this was Brokeback Mountain 2, or that it was like Call Me by Your Name or anything like that. But it was definitely there was definitely a through line.
If only we knew what it was.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think one thing she's sort of looking at is like, if you look at any classic Western, like Red River, John Wayne, or Clint Eastwood, Unforgiven, or, all those classic cowboy movies, you could look at them through that same homoerotic lens that this movie made more explicit. Like the whole battle between Montgomery Clift and John Wayne. It's like, come on, what do you think that was about?
You're right. And if we look, I'm actually remembering in the beginning of the movie, they go to a saloon.
Right.
And everybody seems to be with a woman except
Phil. Yeah. And
then the next scene is him basically, gay bashing.
Right. They're making fun of Peter when he walks in. And then George goes in essentially to comfort or apologize or whatever Rose. And then for the next 20 minutes, Phil sort of is hating on him for being with a woman. He's so angry. Mm-hmm. Is that the root of his anger, that he was rejected by women?
I don't know. There is a grave in the beginning, though, that says Rose and Peter. Was that a flashback? You remember the grave that said Rose and Peter in the beginning?
I don't.
Maybe it was just a sign for the show. I don't know.
No, that's the fun of thinking about these movies, is thinking about these little symbols. And
I'm just curious why he was so militantly filthy and ungloved. And then until he knew he was going to die, and that's when he took a real bath. That's when he put on a suit, and he seemed very happy and peaceful when he died.
He put on the suit at the end.
But he did kind of take a bath with that cloth, that kerchief or whatever it was from Bronco Henry. Mm-hmm. So he was a tormented gay cowboy.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah, but I still am not entirely clear why Peter would kill Phil. I mean, yes, his mother was...
His mother. See, it's hard for people to imagine that. Modern people don't have the same relationship with their mothers that older people did. Because they're not... Kids today aren't as dependent on their mothers as you were when you were in the 1890s living out with a bunch of crazy people running around.
Yeah, she had to protect you from scorpions and gangs.
Or whatever, just the elements. I mean, your life expectancy then was probably like 30 or something,
Yeah, very young.
I mean, he made him cry. I didn't realize. I just didn't realize how, because Peter seems exploring his own sexuality, doesn't have a father, has healing with that. I don't know. I thought this was becoming romantic. I didn't realize that he would take it to this guy has to die because, is it because of his issues with his dad, or is it literally just because he made his mom cry?
I don't know. I think there was an inevitability into it, because I think Peter was just, that's where Phil wanted to go, That was like the ultimate love, death kind of thing, that they were sort of like Jesus and Judas. Jesus had to have a Judas. He had to have a Judas, otherwise the whole story doesn't mean anything. So, for Phil's life to make sense with his torments and things, he had to have Peter complete his thing. That was that sacred bond of the rope that was handed down from Bronco Billy to him.
Wow.
And maybe that rope represented society, like when when everybody came over and George was inviting him in, and he came into the barn in that suit to invite him to wash up. Phil said, "Well, sir, ain't we going into society?" Maybe he's rejecting society too.
That reminds me of a lot of Johnny Dowd songs. How did Bronco Henry die?
I don't think they ever. I mean, maybe this is kind of pushing it, but when they looked up in the hill, they looked up in the hill and says, "What do you see? What is that for Phil, Bronco Billy was still alive, and that he wasn't dead to Phil in the way that a dead person is normally dead to you. The spirit of Bronco Billy had been infused in him on that camping trip they took, where they
He saved his life.
Montgomery saved his life by bunking with him in a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Well,
I just didn't remember whether or not he was responsible somehow. If there's some sort of you can't be together out on the range.
Yeah.
But is there this odd, what is the word? Generational tradition of, we bond and then you die. And then, I don't know. I'm trying to make connections from all of the themes.
It was a myriad of them. It's like anything. Once you take it apart, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like if
I'm kind of experiencing that myself, like a rope.
Yeah,
like a rope.
It's like it's a fucking movie and blah blah blah. But once you start taking it apart, it's just like, oh my god, I don't know what the hell's going on. The guy's English. He's talking American. People are killing each other.
Well,
it was a beautiful movie, though.
They
were definitely letting us know every step of the way that somebody was going to die.
Hey, you're right. Maybe she's making fun of Americans. Who knows? But like you said, if you untangle it, that's not the point of the movie. It's just to enjoy it.
Definitely a great movie.
Yeah,
great movie.
So with that in mind, let's.
How many ropes?
Yeah, let's do a rating out of 10. We kind of give on this show.
Oh shit. Oh boy.
Yeah, we give things out of 10 with something like a rope.
You go first.
Okay.
What did he grade it?
Oh, he said you go first.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, we were talking.
I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10 ropes.
Wow.
9 out of 10 ropes. I'm gonna take a rope off because I'm confused more after this conversation.
That's a good point. It was a little confusing.
9 out of 10. Okay. What do you got?
I'm gonna go 8.5 dogs out of 10.
Okay. Why'd you shave off the point and a half?
They went away from the dog metaphor at the end. Deliver us from the power of the dog. I mean, it was Peter the dog. I just felt it left that particular thread hanging a little bit.
Is the dog homosexuality?
Snoop Dogg.
Is the dog homosexuality?
I think it was just the Bible verse.
Yeah, it's easy.
A cultural reference to Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, right.
That was totally it.
Trying to get the young audience.
Yeah.
Well, bow wow, yo, yippee yay.
Yeah.
That's cowboy-like.
Yeah.
And hip-hop.
Yeah, makes me think of Samuel Jackson, too, in Pulp Fiction. It's always easier to throw in an Old Testament Bible verse and get people thinking.
And this is the moment we've been waiting for, other than Johnny's performance, which was fabulous as always. How many ropes do you give it?
This is tough. I don't like to give ropes, but I'm going to go 8.52. I'm going to take off for the fact that the main character was English and he was playing American.
I knew it.
That's cultural appropriation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cultural appropriation.
I can't. I'm sorry. Isn't there an American actor that needs a job?
Right.
I could have played that fucking role. I'd have killed in that role. I would have killed in that.
I'm not. I'm sorry.
All right.
You are that role.
They yell about directors, yell about the plot, yell about the acting, but they also talk a lot. But mostly Joshua and Phoebe yell about the movie.